One of the things we do very well is tune into the specific templates of others, especially those that hold a fractal of our own resonance, since all resonance is fractals of frequency. So we gather data from the template of others to modify our own, so that we shift resonance according to what our own consciousness is inviting. Now, even if another template appears different, there is still enough resonance that matches our own. So when we say it doesn't resonate, that is at a conscious level. Because at a superconscious level, it absolutely does resonate. Otherwise, you wouldn't be experiencing it at all. We cannot experience anything within our field of awareness that we are not a match to vibrationally, like a radio station. You're not going to pick up a radio station unless the receiver can tune into the broadcast feed from the transmitter. You got to be right on it, otherwise it's not clear. As soon as we interact with a contrast, we immediately have a choice to perceive it as something that's comfortable or uncomfortable, and then we label it according to our own moral compass, often without an awareness that we designed it. In a system of duality, which is what we experience on this planet, we may feel like a victim, because we align with that frequency that is the perpetrator. That is the alignment. Otherwise, you cannot align with being a victim at all, because victims need perpetrators and perpetrators need victims. It's a beautiful relationship. And it is all part of that harmonic which integrates very well within our field of being. Think of all the blockbusters we watch at the movies. Most of them are victim-perpetrator based, because we feel good when the victim turns into the hero and smashes the perpetrator, a la Marvel or DC Comics storyline. Love those. In the right-wrong paradigm, there are both heroes and villains, so you will always align with one more than the other. It can never be 50-50 or there is no game. There must be a bias in some respect with one or the other, and you are aligning in some way with both at all times anyway, extracting whatever one aspect of consciousness invites the other one to serve. So you can't be a victim without being a perpetrator yourself in some area of your life. And we may be completely unaware of this until it surfaces. It's like an iceberg, and all you see are the physical manifestations of the iceberg at the top without ever noticing what's going on in the subconscious beneath the water. If you identify with victims, you must identify with the other side of the equation. If you identify with victims, you must identify with the other side of the equation in a duality platform. In a non-duality platform, both the victim and the perpetrator are one. But this takes us out of the game. So we're not really playing that here on Earth unless we really want to. The credits roll, and we realize it was just a movie. It's all about levels. How far do you want to go? How far do you go before a victim is no longer a victim and a perpetrator is no longer a perpetrator? Just actors in a game by your design. If we can transition the need to be fixated on one winning or losing, the game changes. Suddenly, you're okay with the villain coming out on top, imposing its will on the victim, because you see them both as one. We see this all the time in the animal and insect worlds, and we don't think much of it. It's nature. It's all one functioning unit. We realize that it has to work in a certain way. But when it comes to humans, even though we are part of that same environment, the moral standard we pursue elevates the human being above natural laws, and we become moralists, where one has to come on top and the other one is at a disadvantage. One way to transition the victim-perpetrator consciousness is to accept it and release the need to attach to either side. It's the attachment which is rooted in a suffering consciousness. If we can release or transition attachment, there can't really be any suffering. If we release the need to attach, suffering also transitions. So feel okay with being a victim if you need to. There's nothing wrong with it. And at times, it sends us to a very safe space where we can be alone and reflect. I'm going to enjoy being a victim today because I have the flu, so I deserve to be taken care of because of the horrible symptoms that have made their way to my precious self. Love me, take care of me. Because today I love being a victim. And it feels good. It's not a problem. It's a perception. We all go there. Anybody that can point out a victim is one who recognizes it in themselves. Same with perpetrators. They are teachers of our own vibration. And if we were not aligned with them, if we were not resonating with what they are, we simply would not interact with them or experience it in any way. If we could not play this game of contrast, we wouldn't be here. That's the game. Density to light and light back to density. That is the spiral of creation. And it happens through a system of duality beautifully interwoven with non-duality. Because one implies the other, and you can't have one without the other. So why not enjoy it? Take yourself through some of the most horrific imaginations where you are the victim and see if you can pop out of that state and embrace the perpetrator. I've done it with my daughter, who is very precious to me, and I've gone through the cycles of compassion towards a perpetrator who takes her life. Because in some realm, that perpetrator was me. In some realm of existence, it has happened many times where my daughter was violently murdered and I had to come face to face with her perpetrator. Most of the time, it ended in his death or both our deaths. And many of those deaths were also violent. Could I come face to face after the death of my daughter and look into the perpetrator's eyes who raped and dismembered her body? Could I find forgiveness regardless of the circumstances of what he did? Could I hug him, embrace him in his remorse, if any? Could I transition the need to kill or imprison him so he doesn't do it again? Could I leave him alone with another daughter, knowing what he has done to the first one? All levels of compassion to realize that he is me, just like my daughter is me. These are exercises. They are not for everybody, but you can place yourself in scenarios to train a victim-perpetrator mindset to see both sides as one. Pick the battle that's comfortable for you and take yourself through it. Eventually, you may find a sense of peace in that place and realize how beautifully victims and perpetrators serve each other so well.